Hey everybody, so as I'm sitting here at my desk, and obviously I've rearranged the shop a few times, I wanted to make this video in particular for a group of kids that I'm not gonna get to see. And that way I can share a lot of the information with them at the same time I share it with you guys. So I'd like to shout out to my friend that I went to school with forever and ever ago. She's a teacher now, and her name is Mrs. Rojas. So some of you guys might be watching it and you know who that person is. Some of you guys might be watching this and know exactly who it is because you went to school with her. So thought I'd make a video as an intro for them because we've already talked about we were going to do some collaboration with her classes. They're never going to be able to fly out here, not as young as they all are. So we're going to be doing a series of videos for them from the DNA. So as I'm sitting here at my desk, and I'm working out all the different information that I want to do, I do realize for some people, they're not really understanding what I do here. So let's do a little walkthrough that this is designed specifically for, like I said, my friends in California that aren't going to be able to come out. And maybe some of you that are really not making the connection of what desert or nature-based education does or how it connects with a whole bunch of the different things where we're seeing the kids not doing well in school, or maybe you're having problems working with certain things in technology. It's really not just for young people, it's kind of for everybody. And I've mentioned that, but somewhere that along the line, my communication, it's not getting there. So let's go through. Okay, so I'm gonna get up. So right behind me, there's a map. And this is a topography map. And so that's why it's really important for people to actually come to the DNA and visit, because there's things that are 3D or that you can touch and you can see. A lot of us learn differently. We aren't doing that well with the flat screen or just going to a computer. And especially for some of us, math and English has really fallen short. So a place like this that I've created, the Desert Nature Alliance, if you're not sure, it's a nonprofit, so yes, you need to support me. We definitely need some grants in here. What its purpose was somebody like me who's incredibly artistic, who is smart, who does retain a lot of information, but falls really short in the same categories, can actually answer why some of us fall short in those categories. Why are we having trouble with math? Why does math seem so hard for some of us? Well, I can explain it to you from my perspective. Being so artistic, I need to touch things, feel things, be around it, absorb it differently, be told where in this whole process math actually fits for me. What kind of math I actually need for it. And so if it's something maybe I already have and I just need to learn better, whether it's my addition and subtraction or multiplication. Maybe I need algebra more for something that I'm interested in. Maybe it's not even that at all. Maybe it's something really cool like chemistry, but there's a different kind of math or something that goes along with it. So that was where I understood it, but I still meet people, young people, old people all the time that come in here and go, I don't understand where any of this makes sense. So I'm gonna walk around with you guys and we're gonna do a little tour, like I said, of how that would make sense. So I told you about the topography map that was right behind me, right? Well, how would you even know how tall the mountains are out here, any of that kind of stuff if someone didn't measure it? So there's measuring that goes along with that. For anyone who's gonna make trails or maps or things like this, like I said, this is 3D. So this one actually we don't let everyone touch because it is so old. We'll probably get a new one or have someone create us one on the new 3D kind of printers that they have. But there you go. Immediately I can tell you where your math fits in because I don't know how to make a 3D printer. Do you know how to make a 3D printer? Not at all. I don't even know if I'd be able to start a 3D printer. Okay, so from top to bottom, there's all kinds of ways that your math and your nature and your science and your technology and your engineering, it all goes together, and definitely the art. I think your art might be what's missing. So if you're somebody who is watching me right now and is struggling, or you have someone in your family who's struggling with either graduating from high school, getting their GED, their homeschooling, all those places where everyone they're like, okay, it's good, but not, or the math scores are bad, or the English scores are bad. Sometimes it is a different kind of stimulation that you get your brain going if you're someone like me. And so here we go. Okay, so Mrs. Rojas, I'm not sure who you'd be sitting with right now. You might be sitting with a 6th grader, you might be sitting with a 4th grader. I don't know. So we're just gonna talk because I don't know if any of that really matters, our ages, right? Because I could tell you I have trouble with math, you might be having trouble with math. Where would it matter in my world as the desert? Okay, well, let's start with the fact that I wanted everybody to help me make a dusty, but those people that heard about it were only out here. So you watching this may not have ever heard about it at all. You know what a flat Stanley is? Have you ever heard of that story? Well, it was this cartoon character that they made on just a piece of paper, just a flat piece of paper. Everyone drew it, and they sent it all over the place. And we would get them in the mail, and you were supposed to take a picture of yourself with your flat Stanley, doing things and sending it back. Well, we were super excited to maybe create our own Flat Stanley, but one for the desert we could send off, in honor of Flat Stanley for sure. We love that program. It could be dusty because it's really dusty in the desert. We have things like our haboob, which is the silliest name ever. It's a haboob. This big wall of dust comes at us. So we figured dusty would be the best name. So through the end of the year, we're still searching for dusty. So if you're somebody who would want to draw a dusty, please draw us what a flat dusty would look like. I'm too old for that. Okay, it's almost 2023. Oh my goodness. Okay, we need a dusty from one of you guys. So that's what this is. If somebody saw it online, it was something that looked like this. We sent out emails to everybody. I don't know. I'm just waiting for dusties to show up. So, okay, well, how does that fit in? Stacey, you said math, science. Well, how would I know it's dusty? I go to the weather. I go to the news. How do they know? They tell me it's accurate forecasting. Well, how do we get there, right? How do I know how hot it's going to be? How do I know how cold? How do I know if a hurricane's coming? There is so much science and technology and exciting information in weather alone, in the field of weather alone. But it requires some math. It requires your technology. It requires your creativity. There's a whole bunch in that. So we haven't even moved from the front of the DNA, and I can already tell you tons of different ways where your science, your technology, your engineering, your math, your art is really relevant right now. And if you're falling short or somebody around you is, or you're the student and you're sitting there with Mrs. Rojas, you're like, I'm not doing very good at math. Well, maybe one of these things that I'm talking about will get you excited and we'll get going. But like I said, if you're Mrs. Rojas's class, I'm going to see you a lot more. Okay, so don't worry if I don't cover it on this one or I'm not talking to you directly. We'll get there, okay? So one of the other things that I brought into this shop and it has been a huge hit is my gopher snake bandit right here, okay? And you've seen bandit with me in videos. We on YouTube talk about bandit all the time. Bandit is a Sonoran gopher snake. A lot of people come up to her and immediately go, it's a bull snake, and they want to tell you different information. And there's different kinds of snakes and different ways to identify them. So we brought Bandit in here. I got Bandit when she was a baby, and now she's getting nice and big, and she loves being in here. She's just the cutest. Can we get you on camera right here, boo? So she likes to hear me talk. Loves having all the entertainment that comes into the shop. She absolutely loves it. So while we're hanging out with Bandit, I have maps. There's information. So like you said, we talked about maps already. You need maps. You need maps to find things. This map has history in it, which is awesome, and has little areas that have been highlighted that you can learn about, study about, understand. And it also has the different elevations. So those elevations that are over there, you're like, what's an elevation? How high it is. How up and down, how I'm going to go up this mountain. Is it too tall for me to go up? Can I even breathe up there? All the information. So like I said, we are just in the front part of my new little spot, and I could teach you all kinds of neat things. Could I teach you stuff that's actually gonna help you graduate? I'm gonna get you excited to graduate is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get you excited in your career. I'm gonna get you excited into moving again into something or a hobby or whatever it is that needs to be happening and make you feel better. Make you excited, make you go, okay, I do want to learn more. I do need to step away from the screen. I do need something different in my world to make this happen. We have some amazing talent that has been brought into the shop by someone who is 16 years old. I don't want you to think that there's an age to this. You could be 85, you could be 16. I had a charming woman who is probably in her high 80s stop in just to see Bandit, just to come in, hadn't been close to one, thought it was just the coolest thing ever. Why is Bandit here? Bandit is a native species. What's a species? What am I talking about? Do you understand the whole breakdown of the kingdom? Well, you come in here and you hang out with me. If you can't come in here, right, I'm going to be talking to you directly. You get a hold of me. We talk about which part of this you need help from. I couldn't do this in the garage, you guys. You saw it. I was working in the garage. It just never, we weren't there. I needed to reach more people, and I am now. They come in on a regular basis and tell me, you know, you're right. I can't get this, or I don't understand, or I thank you and for holding something or explaining it. And so it's been really exciting. Or just the allowance and the willingness to talk to someone and let them know it's okay if you're new or you didn't know what something was. I'm more than willing to help you and hang out. But when you do that, I need you to come over here to this donation box because, okay, if we're going to do all that talking for free, no. You also have to understand I have to talk fast because most people tell me anymore they don't have time. All I ever hear is I don't have time. The videos we put out, anyone wants 10 minutes, 15 minutes at most, a minute for a reel kind of thing. And so it makes you talk faster. It makes you come across to people like you're like too much coffee or whatever, right? But for the most people that have come in here, I don't have time for this. We've got to stop this video. We only have this much time. So that's probably part of the reason most of us aren't able to absorb hard material like math that does grow upon itself. If you are new at math right now, if you're struggling somewhere in the middle, you missed a step somewhere in the back. Okay, so you need to go back. It's words you don't want to hear. I don't mean you need to go back a grade. I mean you need to go back. If you can't add, you're going to have trouble with your multiplying. If you can't do your multiplication, you're going to have trouble with your intro to algebra. It just goes together. It's a big old puzzle is what it is, and you need that piece. It's part of your toolbox. If you don't have math in your toolbox, you're not going to be able to do certain things. There's going to be some really cool jobs you're going to find out about as you get older, or right if you're finding out right now that you're not going to be able to have because your math skills aren't there. Something I found out the hard way. So that's why I am helping you guys with this. So we have stuff, like I said, like Bandit, where you can come in, you can check out Bandit. Bandit is a native species. Look at some of the skulls of what Bandit would actually eat and take care of on your property, so you don't have to use bad things like sticky traps and glue traps and kill everything that's just wandering past because you don't want to rat there. You'll start to understand the whole system. There's a lot more to it than maybe that anyone has let you know. And so you're sitting in one of your classes going, this is awful. How is this going to work for me? Well, I'm going to tell you. I can keep telling you. I can tell you for hours and hours and hours in here. That's what I'm doing. That's what this nonprofit is for. So every inch of this space is an area where you could literally stand and learn tons and tons and tons. Behind me is where we have our bobcat studies. So if you're in an area where you have bobcats, this is a fantastic question. Part of the study that we have. When you have wild animals and they haven't been tagged, and they're out there breeding, and they seem to be doing okay, not causing too many problems, but then people start moving in, right? You're like, well, why is that a big deal, Stacy, right? Okay, back to Mrs. Rojas' class. Why is this a big deal? Talk to me about a bobcat. Well, a female bobcat roughly wants about 6 miles. Let me use this table. Wants 6 miles of their own space to walk around and find their food and have their babies, and that's where they want to live, right? And so they had about 6 miles of it, and then the next bobcat, whatever, is going to walk around another 6 miles, and those bubbles of 6 miles kind of overlap with each other with their babies and stuff, but they give each other space. Then you have a male bobcat who is going to walk 10 times that amount. He can go up to 60 miles, going around all the females, making sure all the bird is good, protected, get some food, and making sure his whole area is taken care of, right? Okay, so it seems like that works out for everybody. That's only one set of bobcats. That's one male, 6 females I just told you about. Okay, there's probably a lot more than that out there. Now, what happens when the bobcats, they're where they're at? People go, I need to put my house here. I need to move it all over. And move it, push it out of the way. And now the bobcats can't be there anymore because we're going to put houses here. And so the bobcats have to wander around it. But people don't seem to understand that a bobcat can jump about 8 to 12 feet comfortably. So unless you make your wall really, really, really tall, a bobcat can just jump over it like it's on one of those parkour parks. Like it's at a skateboard park. It's just going to be like, oh, this is the coolest thing ever. And we watch it. And so then they go into people's backyards because they're like, this is super cool. Check us out. I'm supposed to be out here. I'm supposed to be in the wild, but you did this kind of stuff for us. So it's part of what we're learning. You're like, where does the math come in, Stacey? Well, you tell me. How are we going to find out how many of these are out here? How is this working? How many acreage? What is happening? There's a ton of science and math and technology. When you start talking about the cameras that we want to use, how does the night camera work? How does it trip? Because as soon as something walks by, that's technology. Okay, so if you're like, how am I going to use this stuff? Well, that's how you're going to use this stuff. And it's all connected. If this is walking around outside, I should know it's walking around outside. We should all be safe. How do we do that safely? How do you have a balanced ecosystem if you don't have math? You can't take certain things out of your education. You can't take out your art. You can't take out your math. You can't take out your language. You need all of those tools in your toolbox. So since I have a native species here, I had to have something to tell you that was non-native. Well, over here, and you can tell my little tags, getting ready to make permanent ones. But in here is something that came from a pet store. Okay, so when you buy something from a pet store and you give it to somebody, and then it grows up and they go, nah, I don't want this anymore. It got too big, or I'm just not interested in it, or I don't like it. A lot of times you can't just put it back outside. Maybe it didn't come from there. Maybe it doesn't know how to eat or find a home. It's not ready to be outside. It's non-native. It did not come from there. It was not born here. So now it's like, I don't really know how. So Hector's a big old tarantula. I think it's tropical. I'm still getting all the information. It'll be on one of the classes when we go back and forth on what native and non-native and invasive species are. So one of the questions I've posed to everybody is, you as a human, are you a species? Okay, so if you don't know that, what is a species? Where are you all in that? But can you as a human be an invasive species? Can you be someplace and not be doing what you're supposed to? Are you doing things that are bad or dangerous or wrong to that area when you moved there? So that's something to look at and to consider. So we've only been to the tiny parts of the shop, and I can tell you tons of different areas where you would be using your math skills, whether you're doing observation kind of work, you're doing field work, you would like to be a veterinarian, you'd like to learn more about animal or zoo studies. There's a lot of the basic information that you need, the reading levels that you need. Your reading level needs to at least be somewhere graduating high school level for some of the information and the chemicals and how to use things safely, if that's the direction you want to go. When you talk about where the animals live, and I talked about houses, somebody famous has houses out here, and it's Frank Lloyd Wright, and he was an architect. So that is taking architecture, that is taking your drawing and turning it into a home somebody could actually live in. But he took it that different step further and made it where his homes that he was building were kind of part of the desert. So they kind of just blended on in. Now I'm pretty sure that was an amazing skill, and that's what people talk about him to this day. So if you're looking at, well, I want to draw, but where does math come in drawing? Well, it comes in all over the place. So we're already running out of time. Thank you for spending the time with me, and hopefully it got you a little excited. We didn't even get to the collection room. Oh my gosh, so much, so many different areas and avenues that we could explore together. If you need a class, or if you'd like something, you want me to do this online for you, please definitely let me know. Give me a shout out. If you are somebody who knows how to write grants, of course I need some help. This is a new nonprofit. I could use as much help as possible. But I also know that the numbers are sad and scary for all of us that are looking at the education. The math numbers are down, the English numbers are down, our state's numbers are really down. We could do better than this, adults, and so this is why I'm here, okay? So I hope it makes more sense now. Thanks for spending the time. Write me a little bit, start working on your Dusty, and we'll figure out what we're gonna talk about next time I see you. Bye, guys.